Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders Midweek. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
We apologize. We have missed the midweek 2 weeks in a row.
What week is this?
I don't even know.
No, it
But
sucks.
it's been 2 weeks since we produced an episode, Dylan.
It sucks. That's why we're going to drop this one right before this week's official Mountain Murders episode. A double up for your listening enjoyment. And just know that when we miss it, it leaves a hole in our heart. We
double
know
the pleasure, double the fun.
Yeah, we're letting you down, and we know that. And it always happens for a very good reason, but we will try to do better.
Before we get started, Dylan, I have a bone to pick with the state of Arkansas.
Go on and get it, girl.
Damien Echols, who along with 2 friends served nearly 2 decades in prison for the murders of 3 8-year-old boys in West Memphis, Arkansas, petitioned for new DNA testing in an attempt to identify the children's true killer. A judge has denied a request for the new DNA testing of evidence in the high-profile West Memphis 3 murders.
Why? I mean, this could literally...
It's just another setback in a case that has played out in the legal system for decades.
So this could actually not only exonerate these young men, or these grown men now, I mean, they're getting on long in the tooth at this point. It could not only prove their innocence, which is what they're after, obviously. It could also find the real killer, because what monsters did attack and kill those poor little boys, I have no doubt in my mind they committed other crimes, other victims, and very likely could have their DNA on file somewhere in the criminal justice system.
If you are unfamiliar with the West Memphis 3 case, I have a hard time believing that. If you are a true crime fan, you listen to true crime podcasts, you gotta know who the West Memphis 3 are.
It's in the Big Ten.
But if you don't, Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, all 8 years old, disappeared on May 5th of 1993 while they were out riding their bikes together. The boys were found dead, hog-tied with their own shoelaces the following day in a kind of a drainage ditch.
Kind of almost like a creek bed.
Swampy creek bed area. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
Kind of down in a hole.
Now, this crime rocked the community, and authorities arrested 3 teenagers for the murders about a month later. 18-year-old Damien Echols, a 16-year-old named Jason Baldwin, and a 17-year-old named Jesse Miskelly, claiming that they had killed the 3 boys as part of a satanic ritual. The teenagers were convicted and spent years behind bars despite no DNA evidence ever linking them to the crime. They were released finally from prison in 2011 following a lengthy appeals process that resulted in a new trial based on DNA evidence. But rather than sit through the new trial, the now grown men entered into what they call an Alford Plea, which basically says they can maintain their innocence while acknowledging there was enough evidence that they could have been convicted.
Yeah, it's a famous case, Alford versus State of North Carolina, basically saying the prosecution can make a case against you that can be believed by the jury, but at the same time, you're stating that you are innocent of the crime you're being accused of. Which is, you know what that also does? This is a part a lot of people miss with the Alford plea. It removes liability on the state's part for them to be sued for wrongful imprisonment, right? So I think that's always very important to bring up. Man, I just think this is one of those cases. We've talked about it before. The Stephen Avery case. I'm not so sure with him on his guilt anymore. I do think Brandon was innocent and just got drug into it. I'm not sure about Stephen. I won't get into that now. But the state, what was that, Illinois? That
was in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, I'm sorry. They say yeah a lot in Wisconsin, apparently. Once these high-profile cases and the state has their position, even on the local level, it's like it bleeds up through the court system into the upper courts. They oftentimes seem to refuse to admit any type of fault in cases like these high-profile cases. And therefore, you get judges like this who not only could maybe put this to rest in this instance, but could also find the murderer, give these families answers, take a monster off the street.
Okay, does this make any sense, Dylan? The prosecuting attorney, Keith Trestman. I'm sorry, I was getting my I think I'm dyslexic.
Is this of their case?
Yes.
Oh, he was a total creep.
Now, he argues that if other DNA is found on the ligature shoestrings that Eccles wants tested, that it would not exclude Damien Eccles from committing the crime. So he's saying, well, even if you find other DNA, it doesn't mean he didn't do it.
So if you don't find their DNA and find a fourth or even fifth person's DNA on the shoestring, that does nothing to help. I don't understand that.
Well, that's like saying all DNA evidence doesn't mean that someone else couldn't commit the... You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's like saying just because your DNA isn't on the shoestring, Dylan, that you could have still killed those boys back in the 90s.
Now, you said that they were to maybe be tried on a new trial after being released, based on DNA evidence.
Yes.
So,
but they went ahead.
That was
the
never
Alford Plea,
right.
But Eccles is still urging that this DNA be tested, and so basically, what he wants is the shoelaces that were used to hog tie these boys, the ligatures, basically. That they would use new MVAC DNA collection technology, which could lead to the recovery of new DNA samples for testing or not. One thing is for certain, though, is that this new technology places a sterile solution onto the surface while it vacuum pressures to collect the solution and whatever DNA material is present. So it's like a new, more modern system of DNA testing.
Yeah, and with most advances with DNA technology, you either can test a smaller sample.
It's more effective as a means to collect DNA, and it could possibly provide answers about who killed these boys. According to the petition that Eccles filed along with his attorney, a forensic laboratory employee said the shoelace ligatures were the most likely source of DNA evidence if there was any available in this case.
I agree completely. So if they are innocent, and we will move on to what we are here to talk about, if they are innocent, they've been jailed. They've been jailed for years, decades plus, a decade plus. I want to say it was in the neighborhood of 16 to 18 years. And they served that time, and then they were let out. However you want to describe it, they're out now, moving on with their lives. Why would they be pressing that you test this? Because if they're guilty, then you're likely to find their DNA.
The prosecutor went on to say that for the court to grant the petition, it must meet the law's requirements and did not do so because Eccles was no longer in custody, which didn't make habeas corpus an available remedy. The judge agreed with the prosecutors and ruled that a habeas petition can only be brought in the state if the person in question is in custody under the current state law.
Again, the prosecution doesn't want to know if their office, I'm sure it's different prosecutors now, probably been a few, their office was right in the first place. It's going to prove that. Or if they were wrong, find the real killer.
Well, Damien Eccles told a media outlet that it felt like they would rather nitpick at aspects of the law than find out who actually killed these children, and I couldn't agree more. His attorney said they plan to appeal this decision. I mean, for the love of God, test the fucking DNA.
Why?
It's been long enough, and those little boys deserve justice. And if you've seen the Paradise Lost documentaries, yes, they are very slanted. But that, in addition to other evidence that has surfaced about this case, there's definitely reasonable doubt in my mind that these three teenagers had anything to do with the murders. And those little boys deserve justice. And even if these three guys did kill these children,
let's put it to
then
bed.
Let's know that for fact.
Let's put it to bed, and then we can all
because again,
address
these
that.
Boys deserve justice, and we deserve to know what happened to them.
Just the
their
evidence.
Parents,
Sorry.
Their friends, the community at large. I mean, It's just ridiculous to me that this is still an ongoing issue.
The evidence in the original trial was very thin. I mean, it was basically the cornerstone of it was Jesse Miskelly's confession, which is a damn case study in coerced confessions, in my opinion. And then just the general sentiment of these were the black t-shirt, satanic panic kids of the neighborhood. And some testimony from that weird older woman who had a connection to Jesse Miskelly, and he came over there and said this or whatever, some kind of,
she was trying to
convoluted
turn state's witness in order to get out of a different crime.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, it's a very convoluted story.
It's not a strong case.
But folks who don't know about West Memphis 3, you definitely should dive in. It's a fascinating case.
It's not a strong case, and I don't know why the prosecutor's office would not want to pursue new technologies that would once and for all put this to bed and remove that veil of, wondering if they were wrong or right, or, like I said, get a real monster off the street. This case really pisses me off every time.
It angers me greatly.
Okay.
So that is some latest in true crime news. But, Dylan, we have worked up a case. We are still in Alabama. Since we have missed our 2 midweeks, we want to bring you a full case.
Whoa, let me get this straight, Heather. Since we missed a couple of episodes, we're not playing around on this. You're bringing a full-fledged case to the midweek.
I am.
All right, so let's not eat around the bush or beat around the tush. Oh, wait, I got that backwards. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Dylan, you have a way with words.
I do.
You're like the Mark Twain of our generation.
It's true.
Born on December 29th of 1996, Jolee Nicole Callan was born in Vincent, Alabama to parents Michael and Regina. She had a sister named Jessica. In high school, Jolee was known as a very sweet, popular girl, a tiny thing, Dylan. She was very petite, stood only at about 4'10".
Wow, I think she's technically a little person.
She often dyed her hair fun colors like pinks and purples. She was considered a good student, loved animals, and enjoyed performing in school plays. She was into hiking and photography. Jolee was really friendly too. Her dad described her as, quote, a sweet, sweet girl. Before Jolee graduated, she met 20-year-old Lauren Bruner. He was 3 years older than her. And, when you're young and in love, a year can feel like forever. They were together for a year. And at first, he was nice enough, but others described Lauren as possessive and extremely jealous. Never a good descriptor for a boyfriend.
It's not a good combination.
Right?
It can lead to a lot of problems.
Jolee had friends, like lots of friends. Yet slowly, Lauren Bruner began to alienate her from those friends, insisting that she hang out only with him and his friends instead.
Red flag.
It has been reported that if Lauren was playing video games, he expected Jolee to sit right beside him, like the whole time.
I thought it was the whole
Not
reason
leave his side.
of gaming was to avoid your lady.
Is that it?
No, I don't know.
It was clear that what Jolee desired in a boyfriend and relationship wasn't even considered by Lauren. Over time, the relationship grew more chaotic and toxic. She tried on several occasions to distance herself from Bruner, but every time she wanted to break up, he would threaten suicide. Emotionally manipulative behavior. When your partner threatens suicide frequently, it's a form of emotional abuse. It plays on your feelings of love and fear for them.
There's just multiple problems here. That, emotional abuse, manipulating you, control issues, alienating you from friends and family, the first people you would turn to for help if you needed, had some kind of a problem. This is the opposite kind of person I would want my son or daughter to be with.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not healthy at all.
By the time Jolee turned 18, she realized her life was just beginning, and she didn't want to continue being with Lauren. Jolee had plans to attend college away from the town of Vincent, so she broke up with him. Now, as you can expect, a guy like Lauren isn't going to take no for an answer. He continued to call and text Jolee, begging her to come back, but she remained steadfast in her decision. She was like, Taylor Swift, we are never, ever, ever getting back together.
Oh, and he was like, baby, come back.
Yeah.
You can have it all with me.
That's not the lyrics.
That's not the words, but I just can't live without you.
Basically. And then she was like, we are never, ever, ever getting back together.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then he did a remix of the song I just did.
Within a few months, Jolee had already begun dating someone new. And although the relationship with Lauren had ended, she didn't carry any hard feelings toward him. She actually really wanted to remain friends with this guy. That was just the kind of person she was.
Yeah, she seems like
She
one of
cared
those
about him.
fun, outgoing, people, lots of friends, fun to be around. And he seems like a stick in the mud who's miserable.
You think so?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's okay. There's going to be a lot of insecurities, deep-seated insecurities for him to have these types of control issues and can't let go and move on with my life bullshit, right?
It seemed to take weeks before Lauren realized the relationship was truly over. So for weeks and weeks, he's calling her, texting, harassing her, threatening suicide, like pulling out all the old tricks, but they're not working. And she's already met someone new.
Yeah, and see, now I'm afraid of how this guy's going to act next, honestly.
It was August 29th of 2015 when Jolee finally accepted an invitation to go on a hike with Lauren. The plan was to go to Mount Chiaha the next day. At first, she was hesitant, but agreed to go, even texting one of her girlfriends, quote, "If something happens to me, you'll know who I was with."
That's always good when you have to make sure people know where you're going and who you're around. That's not usually a good sign.
The couple had gotten a dog together when they were a couple named Kiba, and Jolee brought Kiba along for the hike. Before the hike, Lauren snapped 4 photos of Jolee and live posted on his Instagram account. The first picture is of Jolee in Bruner's car with Kiba, captioned, quote, "On our way to go hiking." The second photo showed Jolee with the dog, like she's walking the dog, and he captioned it, "Kiba's dragging Jolee on a mission." In the last photo, Jolee is standing on a rocky cliff with her back to Bruner, taking a photo of this beautiful mountain scene covered in fog. So he's kind of behind her snapping a picture of her snapping a picture, right?
Oh, wow.
How artsy. He captioned the photo, "Oh, Jolee, the photographer." Now, after snapping this final photo, so 4 photos in, Jolee pulls out a gun, or Lauren pulls out a gun, and he shoots Jolee in the back of the head. It's with a Bear Claw 22 shotgun.
What kind of crazy shit is that?
I'm not sure.
And that's a weird gun, too, by the way. I don't know
He
what's
then
going on
turned her body over after he shot her and shoots her again between the eyes. Then he pushes her off a 40-foot cliff.
Jesus.
This massive rock cliff.
So him trying to have a hangout, we can be friends. I'm sure at this point he approached her like that. I just miss being around you, blah, 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 is obviously just a ploy for him to get her out somewhere where he can harm her and kill her.
It's terrible. It's
Jesus.
terribly sad. Because she's just trying to be a good person. You know, she still cares about this guy. She wants to be friends with him. And I'm sure part of her kind of felt sorry for him and thought, okay, I'm going to leave for college. I'll hang out with him one last time.
Yeah. I mean,
never expecting this would happen.
Yeah. I mean, I get where she's coming from there, but it's unfortunate because with this type of guy, you just got to break it off with him and keep it that way. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. So she's just trying to be a nice person and figuring they can move on and still maybe remember the good times, all that stuff, and be friendly. And now she's dead. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say.
By 6 p.m., Lauren made a phone call to 911 stating in a very calm voice that he had murdered his ex-girlfriend on top of a mountain. Police arrived to find Lauren covered in blood, and they were able to confiscate the weapon and take him into custody without a fight. Lauren explained where her body was located off of Pinhoti Trail, and authorities were able to locate Jolee at the bottom of the cliff. Despite having called 911 and confessing to police, Lauren pled not guilty.
I guess you have that right up to the last minute, but damn, dude.
His claim was that he and Jolee had a suicide pact. He wasn't able to follow through with it.
Wow, it's amazing how she shot herself in the back of the head and then the face.
Lauren said he was only able to shoot Jolee, but chickened out before it was his turn. Of course, the big question was, well, then why did you shoot her a second time between the eyes? And Lauren had no answer for this.
Well, I was just trying to be a good friend, ex-boyfriend, and just do my part. I wanted to hold it up, make sure she died. What kind of dumbass story this guy even came up with? Who's going to believe that?
Well, no one. Jolee wasn't depressed and showed no signs of suicidal ideations. Family and friends knew the suicide pact story was total bullshit. It was clear to law enforcement and the prosecution that Lauren had lured Jolee into an isolated area of a state park with intentions of killing her. To everyone's dismay, a judge released him on bail, and he was a free man for 2 years before going to trial.
Well, this is premeditated murder. I mean, he brought the weapon to a place typically people don't have a gun, right? Even if it's in the car, you don't take it up the trail with you. Some people might carry a small pistol for snakes and things like that. But this seems purely premeditated, first-degree murder to me. And how do you let this guy out?
Well, this greatly upsets her family. Jolee's father suffers a stroke when he learns that his daughter has been murdered. Michael managed to recover, but he has been left with immense grief. Lauren's attorneys pointed to the fact that he had been diagnosed with Asperger's disorder. Initially, he was tried as a youthful offender despite being 21 at the time of the killing. Lauren was seen as too young to fully consider the impact of his crime. And his attorneys argued that because he was on the spectrum, it would make like a very difficult situation for Lauren to assimilate to prison life.
Now, I'm not that familiar with Asperger's or the condition. Now, if I'm to understand, is it kind of like
well, I don't even think they diagnose people with Asperger's anymore. You're just on the spectrum, or like you're not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it's called a spectrum, so I got to figure there's an extreme point to both ways, right? You're either I don't want to offend anyone by saying it. It's either you have I'll just say it the way I think of it. You're either very autistic or you're not, you're just barely autistic. Does that make sense?
Well, it is a spectrum.
Right.
So in your crude description there, I mean, yes, it is a spectrum.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to be offensive.
There are like milder symptoms, and then there are obviously, stronger symptoms of autism.
Right, and it seems like Asperger seems to be on the milder side.
The difference between like Asperger's and autism is that what was once diagnosed as Asperger's is considered maybe milder symptoms and an absence of language delays.
Okay.
So most children who were previously diagnosed with Asperger's have good language skills, but may have difficulty fitting in with their peers.
So they still have the social cue issues to a degree and things like that.
Right.
Okay, so I find this very interesting. This is the first time I've ever heard of someone who was not a minor being tried as a minor. That I find very interesting. And I wonder if that's wholly on the consideration that he may or may not have what at that time they called Asperger's.
Well, no, see, they've got the youthful offender status. So we talked about that before in the Brittany Wood case. If you recall, her brother Derek was tried as a youthful offender. And I believe it's if you are within the ages of like maybe 21 and younger, within like a few years out of being a minor.
Oh, like 18 to 21 maybe?
Yes,
okay.
then you can apply for this status.
Okay.
And if you apply for a youthful offender status and it's granted, he would only serve up to 3 years in prison. And just like on the Brittany Wood case that we covered a couple episodes ago, her brother would have likely only served 3 years, if that much, for his, sentence.
It's almost like yeah, I'm over 18, but here's the factors that maybe made me not react as a mature person might.
Or factors that would maybe be taken into consideration that you don't fully grasp the impact your crime has, the impact it would have on others,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
It's even if you know it's wrong from right, you don't have a full understanding of those concepts, maybe.
Right.
Okay, so, well, I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, this is a very callous, cold thing that he did. Are you buying it in this case, or could there be underlying things that you don't fully realize? Or, I mean, I hate to, I don't know.
Well, don't put me on the spot.
Well,
just because I'm familiar with ASD doesn't mean I know.
well,
in
no,
this
I'm just saying.
particular case.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, those
Here's my thing.
symptoms
okay?
tend to be
This
milder.
This
so.
is just my experience. I've discussed this before on the podcast. Is that I do have a child that is on the spectrum, right? And in my experience, the temper flare-ups or the tantrums, the outbursts that we have are very sudden and come on super fast, and it's almost like an explosive situation.
They can be intense.
Where it goes from 0 to 60 in a matter of seconds, right? So when we're dealing with one of those meltdowns, temper tantrums, whatever you want to call it, it's fast. A lot of times you don't even know what triggered it. Why is this happening? You're trying to get to the root of the problem, but there's sometimes that communication barrier you don't understand. So just in my experience, and I'm not saying this is across the board or that this may have been Lauren's experience, is the pre-planning, the premeditation.
That's
of
it. There you go.
If it were a thing where he kind of snapped, lost it, shot
Pushed her, shoved her
something
off of the
I
cliff.
could maybe understand, but it was the premeditation that makes me think it's bullshit.
Thank you. You got to the heart of what I was thinking. The premeditation, the kind of talking to her into going out into the middle of nowhere with him, bringing the weapon not only in the vehicle but up the trail as well. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
See, I'm not buying that part either.
That right there, because it wasn't some snap. He didn't. It wasn't even.
Well, and again, I'm no professional.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, in my experience with my autistic child, is when we have one of those explosive situations. It's quick. It's fast. It's not like something that's pre-planned and
right.
No.
There you go. That's it.
Executed, planned out. It's immediate. It's almost instantaneous, like a snap. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm not buying it. I think Lauren's a shitbird.
I have a hard time believing that this has anything to do with Lauren's behavior.
I think Lauren's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it.
Youthful offender status caused outrage. Eventually, his charge was upgraded to be an adult status. During the trial, Lauren Bruner tried to say that Jolee had requested he shoot her, but there was no evidence to back up this claim. He couldn't present any text messages, written letters that she had ever requested this happen.
That would be the only way you can make that fly, is if you had text conversations, or even a lot of them, or one of her friends say, yes, she discussed this with me. I told her that was not a good idea. You'd have to have something. Just on your words, that's not going to work.
Well, we even have a text from Lauren telling her friend, if something happens to me, you know who I was with. That lets the jury know that even Jolee had not trusted Lauren's invitation or felt he was dangerous.
Right, and even the pictures
scary.
Posting up to that moment were kind of he's trying to make it come off. I mean, it seems to me like he's, oh, look, we're kind of, kicking it. We're kind of back together, maybe. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of weird how he's just got to post constantly with the pictures. And it's from being framed as in a happy, if you're contemplating some suicide pact, I don't know how much posting to social media you do. You see what I'm saying? Trying to frame things as being happy.
Lauren Bruner was found guilty and given a sentence of 52 years in prison, and he was ordered to pay her family $11,000 in restitution. Even though he is eligible for parole after 15 years, Michael felt justice was served for his daughter.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering that the whole youthful offender thing, would have been a matter of a couple, 3 years at best. What can you do? I still don't know. Well, it's his daughter. That's her family. So if he's happy with it, I'm happy with it, I guess.
It's such a sad story.
It's so random and pointless. For what?
It's back to that mentality of if I can't have you, no one can.
That very thought process or statement has
such a dangerous way to think.
Ended so many women and men as well. Has ended their life because they had this person who just could not let go and move on, and was obsessed with them to the point where they would literally rather kill you and spend time, because he didn't even hide it, and maybe that has something to do with his mentality or something, but he didn't even hide it. He was going to do that and then call 911 and say, I killed her. So I don't know. Is it worth it? Obviously not.
I don't know. We as a whole need to learn to accept rejection gracefully.
Yeah, I agree. Gosh, a lot of people nowadays just have this thought that everything's got to be the way they want it, and just adversity. They don't seem to be able to deal with it.
So I have this friend, and she has like an OnlyFans account, right? And so she's always posting on her social media platforms about, OnlyFans and posting certain photos, that kind of thing. Well, she recently had made a post about how men will, slide up in her DMs all the time.
Okay.
And be like, hey, you're beautiful. I'd like to take you out, and hit on her. And that she will, if she responds, which she doesn't always, but if she responds and says like, no, I'm sorry, I don't date strangers, or I don't go out with people that I've met online, that the men automatically, it turns to, you're ugly, you're a whore, I hope you die, I hope someone kills you.
That's so gross.
And I've heard, and this was like a recent conversation. So she made this post, and then I had like kind of replied, and then we kind of got into like a messaging conversation about the situation and how it's disgusting.
It is.
But that's not the first time I've heard women talk about rejecting a guy, especially when it comes to like internet reaction or interactions, messaging, Facebook, whatever. And the minute you turn a man down, he immediately starts threatening you, calling you horrible names, insulting you, when 5 minutes before he was telling you how beautiful you are. And the minute you reject him, he's like, well, you're a skank and nobody wants you. You're lucky I asked you out. And I don't get, it's like, why can't you just accept rejection with some grace?
Cool.
Just be like, okay, cool. You don't want to hang out? Fine.
Yeah. Well,
move along.
Typically I would say, well, make out the point with some men, but it's so prevalent across all platforms, and no matter what you do, even down to just random comments on just regular content that has nothing to do with dating, that just vicious misogyny that exists on the internet,
and the sense of entitlement.
Yeah,
like you deserve dates, or you deserve. I guess it's that incel kind of mentality or something where these, and I'm going to say men because that's, I'm talking about men, but I mean, I'm sure there are some women out there who kind of have the same attitude, that like they're owed sex or they're owed dates simply because they exist.
I don't owe you that dick.
And what about,
okay?
And then they'll be like, well, I'm a nice guy. What about nice? And it's like, yes, but if you were genuinely a nice guy, you wouldn't be nice for the sheer, like with the sheer intention of trying to get laid out of it.
You would continue to be nice,
you would just
even
be a
after,
nice guy just because you're a nice guy.
Right. And you'd be like, oh, okay, no offense, sorry, cool. I just wanted you to know I thought you was pretty, bye. It's like, look, sliding up in a random person's DM, man or woman, to me is, I guess it happens a lot nowadays, but it seems weird to me in the first place. I guess I'm kind of...
no one slides up in your DMs?
If you're on a dating site, maybe I'll view it differently. Hey, I'm going to message that person. I think we're both here to date, right? But it's just like you said. If you're at a bar and everybody's having drinks and you see a girl or you see a guy, then you can be like, hey, I wonder if they're, single, maybe this is kind of the environment where people go to maybe meet someone. But if they're just trying to get a half gallon of milk, like you've said before, sweaty from the gym, trying to get your errands run and get home, because you got work to do or, house stuff to do or whatever, just living your normal life, this might not be the best time to approach someone and ask them for their number or for a date. It's just a regular everyday. Just let that person go about their life. And I view it the same way online. If you're on a dating app, yeah, maybe you think about it. Hey, we're at the bar. Maybe they want to meet someone. But if it's just you're making random history content or something, or you just see someone randomly online, not dating sites or anything, to slide up and be like, hey, what's up? I think it's weird. You see what I'm saying?
No,
Did that make any sense at all?
In the very Dylan way, kind of.
Right.
No, it just reminds me, just a couple weeks ago, we had gone to karaoke, and, I'm with my girlfriend. We're, chatting, and her boyfriend's outside or something, and then you were up there pretending to be Post Malone. You were being a rock star.
I was killing it is what I was doing.
Yeah, I know. You were being a rock star.
Right.
Right.
So I'm performing.
You were popping perkies and feeling like a rock star or whatever.
Dirty
I don't know.
30s.
You was up there just jamming. I didn't even know what you were singing.
I don't either.
Like some Neon Moon or something.
Who
I don't
knows?
know. Right. I'm just hanging out, and this dude comes over, starts chatting. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. Kind of blowing him off. He doesn't get it, and is being very creepy, leering, just staring at. He was just staring at my tits the whole time.
Well,
right?
you did have the girls was there. They were being. You looked great that night, by the way. And
okay, I'm just gonna say there's nowhere to put them. Okay, they're gonna be there. Okay, there's no way to make them discreet.
You said he was almost shorter than you, so his face, you're like
He was shorter than me.
You're
and
short.
I'm sitting on a bar stool, and his face was just basically at eye level with my cleavage, and he stared at them the whole time.
My
and
God.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. And part of me wanted to be like, will you fuck off? But then I know how quickly that could turn south.
Oh shit!
Right? Well, I'm just saying.
Saying I didn't realize what was happening. Okay.
Finally, you exit the stage, and I'm thinking, oh, good. Here's Dylan. He's going to save me from this creep. But no, you immediately bolt outside, and I'm like, what a piece of shit husband you are. Why am I married to you if you're not going to protect me from creeps?
Look, I had no idea you were being accosted because
because you weren't paying any attention because you were too busy glowing, basking in your successful performance there, Elton John.
What happened when I found out what was going on, though?
Well,
you had to talk me down.
Well, you were just kind of like, okay, whatever.
No, it's a damn lie.
Well, then my girlfriend,
I was like, what
she
fucking guy?
finally comes back out, and she's like, dude, that guy came, I guess he left and came back, and he was like, where'd my girl go?
Shit.
And just the sense of entitlement of where'd my girl go?
You spoke 3 words to this woman and stared at her tits the whole time you were talking to her, never looked her in the eye, and was just weird and creepy the entire time. To even think that this person still wants to talk to you. What's wrong with you?
Well, my friend was like, she's outside with her husband.
Yeah.
And then she cussed him out because she just don't give a shit. And I was like, you go, girl.
She's out there with the big guy.
But yeah, she's out there. But just the audacity, this man's like, where's my girl at? And she's like, when he said that, it made me so mad because I was like, she's not your fucking girl.
You're damn right.
But I'm just saying, this is an example of, I don't know you. I don't owe you my time, my attention, my conversation, my presence. But he felt entitled, like I was with him because he decided it was so.
Yeah, so if you had been just there with you and your girlfriend, just you guys, and not there with a hulking, the example of peak performance male body like myself.
Oh,
Once he laid eyes on this, of course he never came near us again. Because what's the word?
I just think after my friend yelled at him, he tucked his tail between his legs.
I'm a specimen. But anyway, if you'd been there just with your girl chilling, you'd have had to deal with this guy for the next hour. He wouldn't have left you alone until you did tell him to fuck off, and you could have whooped this dude's ass. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I was trying not to get into that situation.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm just saying, there again, it's this sense of because you're here and you exist and you have a vagina, you owe me. because I'm a man
Well, fuck that guy.
or something. I don't know.
He's a little baby
but it's
shit
the
bird.
same attitude of like, if I can't have you, no one will. Like, you're just automatically entitled to someone.
He's a shit chick. Little baby shit bird.
A shit chick?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Moving the brand forward. Okay, well, that was short and sweet, but freaking horrible. Just for no reason, because this guy couldn't let go and move on. This poor, sweet young girl is dead. Dead. Family forever torn apart.
It's so sad.
Her
and
father-
she had her whole life ahead of her. I mean, she was getting ready to go off to college.
Yeah.
Who knows what she would have been able to accomplish in life?
You know, I always think when these people in this senseless violence get killed, that could have been the person that did something that changed the world, that affected everyone. You know, you never know. Could have been the person that cured cancer or something noble like that. You just never know.
Very sad story.
Oh, my God. Anything else?
No.
Man, fuck that guy.
Unless you're the kind of guy who has those tendencies, or you're a girl who has those tendencies to be possessive and jealous. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Let it go.
Learn to accept no.
Okay, so we can wrap this thing up. I'm going to go stare at Heather's cleavage.
I'm going to stand in front of the air conditioner.
God, I love your cleavage. It's so
because
great.
it is about 120 million degrees in this studio.
I'm going to go breathe hot air on her neck.
It's like I can't, my brain's not even working to podcast. I feel like I'm starting to like doze off into like a heat coma.
Man, can I say, people love stories of when I aggravate Heather. So today I just texted you from work and I was like, okay, so, you know, whatever. I said some random thing and you was like, look, I'm trying to, you know, make a little content or do some research. Give me a minute. And innocently, the first one was innocent. I typed back, okay. And she was like, you interrupt me again? Because obviously she's using her phone for this. Stop. Leave me alone for now. I'm making something. Give me a minute. And I was like, all right, got you. Smiley face, smiley face. And I knew at that point that I could feel you, your mental energy coming through my phone, that you would put your hands on me if I was there.
No,
and I knew that I
wouldn't.
could not take this
you
joke.
make it sound like I'm so horrible to you.
No.
But
I just
what
like
they
to
don't
aggravate you.
realize is how fucking annoying you are.
And I knew I never answered back anymore. You was like, thanks for interrupting me again. Now just leave me be for just a minute. I'm trying to do this. I knew that if I took that joke one more step, one more text, that would have been my ass.
You're like a little mosquito. You just keep swatting it and it keeps coming back.
Oh, I'm a so sassy Skeeter.
See, exactly.
I just bite booze. I'm going to bite you. I'm going to taste your bud. Ooh, I want to be a big sassy bug. Yeah. Hey. Damn,
I
girl.
think the heat's getting to you as well.
Mm.
If you're going to be a big sassy bug, then I'm going to need a gigantic fly swatter.
Baby.
What is it about? Okay, another thing, and then we'll wrap it up.
What you
Dylan.
got?
What is it about like little old men and their fly swatters?
Oh, they don't play with that shit.
Because maybe it's just I've just known a lot of little old men who've got their fly swatters. Maybe a lot of people have them. I don't know. But I just remember, like, my papa would sit around with his fly swatter. Like, he just couldn't wait to swat a fly with it.
It was his mission.
Yeah.
They would swat him
There
so...
was, like, never a time when he was, like, sitting in his recliner we didn't have his little fly swatter. Like, and it was always super handy. Like, he could just reach and grab it.
Yeah, you got a back scratcher and a fly swatter.
Yes.
This is the equipment of the old country man.
It's so true.
Or the old man, period.
The back scratcher, it looks like a yardstick.
Yeah.
Or something.
And they would blast those flies. I grew up seeing this myself. They would blast those damn flies so hard with that fly swatter that it would explode the fly's body and there'd be like little white flecks and stuff smeared on wherever. And then they would clean it off. But I was just like, bro, that fly got obliterated.
And they would feel so full of success.
That's because them damn flies won't stop if you don't bring this kind of passion to your swatting.
You have to introduce this kind of violence to your day when you have flies.
Woke up and chose violence.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Don't get swatted.
You need a fly swatter.
All right. So we love you all, and we will
to get swatted.
see you again soon.